I'm Marley Hall in Orlando, Florida, with the latest on the impact of Hurricane Matthew and where it's headed next, coming up.
A Laurel County man has been arrested for shooting at law enforcement. And with the second presidential debate just days away, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump urging those in the path of Hurricane Matthew to stay safe.
This is WKYT News at 4:30.
Good afternoon. Sam Bick and Amber Philpott reporting. States of emergency have been declared throughout much of the southeast, and more than 500,000 homes are without power. The top winds of Hurricane Matthew now clocking at about 115 miles an hour as the storm moves off the coast of northeastern Florida.
It is still threatening historic cities, though, like Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, South Carolina. Even though the eye of the Category 3 storm has remained offshore, Florida is not out of the woods just yet. Marley Hall has the latest from Orlando. It's our top story at 4:30.
Hurricane Matthew pounded South Florida with blinding rain and winds that gusted over 100 miles an hour. The governor says Matthew remains a serious threat as it moves north.
It could be the worst part of this is still to come.
Hurricane-force winds snapped trees and destroyed the side of a boathouse at a marina in Smyrna. All over the state, debris littered streets. In Jacksonville, huge waves crashed ashore. Officials are worried Matthew's storm surge could cause major flooding in low-lying areas along the St. Johns River.
On top of those winds, the storm surge is going to be significant, 10 feet plus waves.
The governor is expected to tour some of the damage today from this widespread and powerful storm. South Carolina's governor pleaded with holdouts to leave.
There is nothing safe about what's getting ready to happen.
Officials say more than 500,000 people are without power in Florida. Marley Hall, CBS News, Orlando.
And Matthew is being blamed for at least 800 deaths in Haiti alone. Well, as Hurricane Matthew continues to pound the southeast, we're having really just a gorgeous day here in Kentucky.
It is pretty nice out there, but temperatures will be dropping as we head into our weekend. Let's check in now with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
And, you know, it's hard to focus on the nice weather that has been showing up around here the past few days with the upper 70s, low 80s, dry conditions with everything going on along the coast. And there's still plenty, as you see there, around Jacksonville. Center of circulation still off the coast, out over the Atlantic, so keeping it alive and well, even though it is running into a substantial amount of friction there as the storm is pushing inland with some of its outer bands into Georgia, of course, Florida, and South Carolina right now. And even all the way up, and you see there at the top of your screen, even into eastern Kentucky, some of these showers are directly associated with it, making their way into Kentucky as well. This is a forecast model that we have and we've been running here lately, and this is at 8 o'clock tonight. Now watch what happens as we go under the clouds and kind of virtually take you into this storm. You can see from Savannah up to Port Royal there, really dealing with some intense rainfall at this point, where they could see in that general area somewhere between 7 and 15 inches of rain. 7 the low end of that. Keep that in mind. We go on up the coast a little bit more into Charleston, Myrtle Beach, all being pounded by rounds of heavy rain, and you got to watch out for that storm surge because it will be driving that water in too as well, more inland. We expand the view and you can see now it's impacting the folks there into North Carolina as well with a lot of heavy rain. This is just one version of the model, but again, still keeping the action wide open here all the way into Saturday evening for those folks, and eventually moving back off the coast as far as the center of circulation as we get into your Sunday. But still a powerful storm, because after that it's going to try to wrap back around and come back toward the south and go all the way down to a depression, which could mean more rain if it takes the right path back into Florida. So again, that's yet to be seen on what happens ultimately in the long range stuff. But a lot of action happening down there. Very pleasant weather here, and even cooler, as you said, for us this weekend. I'll break it all down coming up in just a few minutes.
Remember, you can track Hurricane Matthew and our weather here anytime with the WKYT Weather Plus Traffic app. You can download it for free from the app or Google Play stores. A southern Kentucky man was arrested last night after police say he fired shots at them.
It happened just before 11:30 last night off Gooden Lane, which is off of the West Dixie Highway in North Corbin. Police in Laurel County say they were investigating one complaint when they say shots rang out. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has more on this story from London.
The suspect is 63-year-old Roy Hibbard, and he was arrested because of what happened at a residence about 11 miles south of here in London in the city. of Corbin. We are told that he was arrested because officers felt threatened by his actions. Hibbard was arrested after 11 o'clock Thursday night at his home. Police say they were looking for a suspect that had been involved in an assault on a deputy from earlier in the week when Hibbard came onto his porch and fired 2 shots at the officers who were approximately 150 feet away. Police say the officers were on the public roadway when all of this happened.
According to the officer's citation, he said that the rounds were fired at them. Now, they took him into custody without any problems.
Hibbard's family has a much different account of what happened. They claim that Hibbard is a hard-working man who recently retired, had no reason to shoot or fire his weapon at officers. Probably he felt threatened by something that he heard or saw. We're going to have their side of the story coming up at 5:30. But for now, in Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police say Hibbard had slurred speech and appeared to be under the influence of something. Police say he told them he had taken hydrocodone earlier in the evening. The U.S. State Department is preparing to release a new batch of emails from Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump lands an endorsement from over 16,000 Border Patrol agents.
Greg Boswell has the latest on the presidential campaign from the White House.
The National Border Patrol Council endorsed Donald Trump this morning during a roundtable discussion at the Republican nominee's campaign headquarters. The group talked about their concerns on immigration and claimed border agents are being directed to ignore immigrant criminal records.
They're saying immigration is so tied up with trying to get the people that are in the waiting list, hurry up and get them their immigration status corrected, make them citizens so they can go ahead and vote before the election.
Exactly who gets to vote will be under the microscope for the next 4 weeks. Absentee ballots are being cast in Wisconsin, but today Republican Governor Scott Walker announced issues with how the state's voter ID law was being enforced at the Department of Motor Vehicles. In Florida, where Hurricane Matthew has forced millions to evacuate, Republican Governor Rick Scott rejected a request from Hillary Clinton's campaign to extend the state's voter registration deadline.
Clinton has no public events scheduled while she prepares for Sunday's debate, where her emails will likely come up after the State Department Friday releases about 270 additional pages.
The emails are from a private server she used while she was Secretary of State. The State Department says a significant number of the emails are near duplicates of previously released documents. The agency has been ordered to release 3 more batches of emails before the November 8th election. A new Quinnipiac University national poll gives Clinton a 5-point lead over Trump, in large part due to strong support from women and non-white voters. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
Tomorrow, Trump heads to Wisconsin, where for the first time he will campaign alongside House Speaker Paul Ryan. Clinton has no events scheduled. Lady Liberty is getting a bigger museum. Groundbreaking has been done on the new Statue of Liberty Museum. Along with a completely new design, the museum will feature a much larger facility, more capable of handling the millions of visitors that visit Lady Liberty each year. It will also include a raised viewing platform for that perfect selfie with the statue. The new Statue of Liberty Museum is expected to open in 2019. Muhammad Ali's mansion in Louisville is now up for sale.
And with a listing price of $2.2 million, the legendary boxer's home includes 5 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, and is more than 9,000 square feet. It also includes a pool, 4-car garage, and a University of Louisville-themed basketball court. Muhammad Ali passed away in June at the age of 74.
A Louisville teacher is going viral after inviting her students to participate in her wedding. The adorable ceremony you have to see after the break.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
Very sunny and nice and calm, and anything you can think of that's positive weather-wise, it's here. But you go along the East Coast, and this storm, Hurricane Matthew, continues to just roll through that area with heavy winds, a lot of rain. And when I talk about winds, I'm talking 115 miles per hour there around the center of circulation, so right around the eye. So very intense storm continuing to move along the coast with a lot of rain and pushing a lot of that water in as well as we talk about storm surge. So we're tracking it. Category 3 storm still at this moment. It's pretty broad too. You can see all the way up into eastern Kentucky, tracking some of the showers of the main outer bands from this. Some of that moisture that's way out there directly associated with the low, the storm itself, Matthew. So as it progresses, it's going to eventually run into this. That frontal boundary will be sweeping through our area as well, bringing us some very pleasant stuff. Behind it, I've got it labeled cold to downright chilly in some cases, and even some snow flying behind that low. So that tells you just how cold some of that air is already. But we're not going to get in on that kind of significant blast of cold air, but it will be very comfortable compared to these low 80s. These low 80s are nice, but it's fall. We got to get cool, and that's where we're going once the front gets through the area here. Also, behind that front, look how much cooler temperatures are overall. I mean, down into the low 60s, the mid 60s. 40s are showing up out there as well. So this would be the cold sector that I was highlighting on the other map, and this would be the just cool, much more comfortable kind of brand of air showing up there from Kansas City now even into St. Louis. So overall, you can see the transition is happening across a big chunk of the country. Now, let's show you the broad picture here of Kentucky's Defender Radar Network. Here in Lexington, it's fine. Beautiful out there. Seeing plenty of sunshine. You go to parts of eastern Kentucky, it changes because that moisture has been increasing. So from Harlan to Whitesburg to Jenkins to Pikeville, clouds have been thickening up there, and even into Hazard as well as Knott County, even into Breathitt. Some of those clouds you have been seeing are directly associated with Matthew, and the showers that we are tracking also have ties to it as well. And we're going to hold on to those chances, it looks like here this evening, at least a small chance in some of these counties in the mountains. The rest of us should be fine. We'll stay nice and quiet and probably downright clear at times until that front starts to sweep in. When that front gets here, it might spark a shower or two for Saturday. Most of us will stay dry, but the only thing you'll really notice as it's clearing the skies up is we are much cooler tomorrow afternoon. We are in the mid-60s with this particular run of the model, and that may be where we end up. Our official high will probably happen at midnight tonight, and it'll be much warmer than that. But the conditions you experience for tomorrow, that's what you're seeing right there, which would be mid-60s, probably some upper 60s as well. We get into the early morning hours on Sunday, and that is a chill in the air. Again, we hit some models early on trying to push in the 30s. Well, it's trying to do it again, as you see right there in Moorhead. So low 40s, upper 30s, you cannot completely rule that out because this is going to be a drier and significantly colder air mass just taking hold of the region. Now, our 7-day forecast reveals all of that. You got more Keeneland action tomorrow. I encourage you to get out there because if the heat was too much for you today, it's going to be even better tomorrow because it's going to be cool and a little bit of a breeze also trying to show up, which might make it too cool. But overall, not a bad looking forecast, guys.
Some folks having their first 5K over in Mount Sterling in the morning. I'm going to be there 8:30.
8:30 looks good. I mean, it's still on the warmer side of things, as you would think of that time of the morning, but the rest of the day kind of cool overall.
And once again, Chris Bailey with the day off on a gorgeous Friday. How does he arrange these things for you?
And keep in mind, it's Keeneland, too. Keep that in mind. Something's odd.
We know that guy, right? Thank you.
It's the history and mystery of the Kentucky Horse Park. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about preparing for the cemetery crawl when we return here on WKYT.
The Kentucky Horse Park has conjured up a cemetery crawl for the month of October.
Our Deanne Stevens is out and about with more on how you can learn some of the fascinating history of the park's historic grounds. Hi, Deanne.
Good afternoon from the Kentucky Horse Park. We are preparing for tonight's cemetery crawl. Now listen, you have to have reservations for this. So tonight may be out for you, but you've got many more weekends to check it out for yourself. It's the history and mystery of the Kentucky Horse Park, and for as many times as I have been out here, there are so many places I've never even seen. Like what's behind us. Ashley Chilton is with us. This Man of War, this is beautiful, this area here, the fountains. Tell folks where we are.
So we're at the Isaac Burns Murphy Man of War Memorial here at the Horse Park. It's right to the left of the entrance. We have Man of War buried here underneath his statue. And we also have War Kilt and War Admiral buried up there as well. War Admiral was the Triple Crown winner, one of his most famous offspring. But then we also have Isaac Burns Murphy, the only jockey to be buried at the Horse Park, just buried right over here.
Right. There's so many places like this that people have never had the opportunity to see. You guys are providing that opportunity with a little spook to it, right, for the cemetery crawl? Tell folks about it.
So the cemetery crawl, we're going to take people to the outskirts of the park and show them places they don't ordinarily get to see. There's dueling grounds. There are other smaller family cemeteries, and I just want to show people the history of the people of the horse park.
Yeah, and there's cemeteries that you guys didn't even know existed until you started building, right?
Right. At Rolex Stadium back in 2008, they found 34 bodies or something and had to excavate those before they could build Rolex.
So it does have a little bit of a spook to it and a little bit of fun too. She said snacks, activities, fun is involved. You got to be 12 or older. It's suggested 12 or older because there is a little bit of a spook to it. Lasts about 2 hours. Things kick off at 5 o'clock. How do folks get tickets?
They just need to call the Visitor Center. It's 859-259-4213. And they'll just call the Visitor Center and they'll get them reserved up there.
And our goofy photographer, Kenny, was like, do we have any ghosts we can show? No, not yet, but you might see them when you participate in the cemetery crawl. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about. Back to you guys. Boo!
She called her photographer goofy.
I know, but he was just asking a good question to see if they were around.
Good guy. A movie star was moved to tears in London.
And Bill Cosby wants a judge to throw out his sexual assault case. Suzanne Marquez has those stories and more in your Eye on Entertainment.
Bill Cosby's lawyers went on the attack in a legal filing in Pennsylvania. The comedian's attorneys are trying to get the sexual assault case thrown out, arguing their client can't get a fair trial after a perfect storm of mistakes by a judge and misconduct from a prosecutor and celebrity lawyer. Cosby's trial is set for June on charges of drugging and assaulting a woman. Actor David Oyelowo fought back tears while talking about the lack of diversity in British film. His latest movie, A United Kingdom, premiered this week. But he says he had to leave the UK to pursue his career and that his friends are still struggling.
We've prayed together. We've scratched our heads together. We have felt displaced together. We have felt abandoned together.
Oyelowo called on British filmmakers to put more diversity in leadership positions. In Los Angeles, stars are on the red carpet for the launch of HBO's newest comedy series. Insecure is about the friendship between two women from different walks of life and the way they navigate the most uncomfortable dilemmas. The series kicks off on Sunday. And the Rolling Stones are going back to their roots with a new blues album, the band's first studio record in more than a decade. The album will be called Blue and Lonesome and is set to release in December. And that's your Eye on Entertainment. Suzanne Marquez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Hasbro is pulling at our heartstrings with a new line of toys aimed at senior citizens. That's coming up on WKYT.
You know, October weather can mean anything. Could you have picked a better day as far as the weather to open up Keeneland?
Yeah, the folks out there are just jumping for joy right now. And Jim, you think that's where Chris Bailey is today, you think?
You know, you got to add it up, 2 and 2. Keeneland, nice weather, he's off today. Something stinks around here, and I think it might be Chris Bailey. We're looking outside, guys, across Kentucky. It's a gorgeous day out there, anywhere you look. 81 in Moorhead, 81 in London. We should be in the low 70s. Keep that in mind right now for this time of year. 80 in Lexington with plenty more sunshine here. We're not even seeing some of those broken clouds like they are in Moorhead. They're a little closer to some of the cloud cover that's trying to drift in here from, of course, Matthew. There you see the clouds that I'm referencing, and they're much thicker into the mountains of eastern Kentucky, and even some showers trying to get going with some of that moisture, and they likely cross over and impact some of those folks down there a little bit tonight and into the early morning hours. 7-day looks fantastic around here with daytime highs very comfortable this weekend. All right, let's see what we've got going on in the world of traffic. Very busy out there. Here's Don. Let's see what he's got.
Well, of course, we have Keeneland traffic this afternoon in and outbound Versailles Road. That's going to impact us right now anywhere from Man-O-War to the county line, especially for traffic trying to move toward Versailles, it looks like. Also slowdowns on the outer loop of the circle approaching Harrodsburg Road over Nicholasville Road, and a collision that's causing problems on the circle near Alumni. Drive times will be impacted to Nicholasville, not so bad, less than 15. We're going to watch our drive times to Versailles throughout the afternoon. Now back to you in the studio.
Officer Don, thank you. Lifelike pets and an adorable Kentucky wedding. It's the video that will have you talking. Take a look at this.
Hasbro has just released its latest creation, a lifelike robotic dog. Check it out. The dog barks and turns its head in the direction of a person talking. The robotic pup follows in the paw steps of its robotic cat model under the company's Joy for All brand. Hasbro says the close to real life pets are actually designed to help ease loneliness among the elderly and children.
A Louisville special education teacher got some big help from her students on her wedding day. Kenzie French, who works with children with Down syndrome, tied the knot last week. But just days before the big day, she made some last-minute changes to her guest list. French said her wedding day would not be complete without her students, so she had each of them walk her down the aisle. We're so glad she did, because this means it's the cutest wedding picture of all time. Check that out.
Precious beyond belief.
Those kids will never forget that, for sure.
Fantastic. Great Friday shaping up, but much more to come, especially with the weather situation in the southeast part of the country. We'll have more of that coming up now on WKYT at 5 o'clock.